a video on something called Merthyr Tydfil Pie, which is like a savoury bread and butter pudding. I've only ever come across this in one place, and it's from a chef called Stephen Terry. It's very nice, and it's a good way of using up bits of meat and vegetables and stale bread and a bit of cheese and some stock. So it's kind of one of those dishes, and it's kind of quite interchangeable. So if you've got a little bit of meat, that's fine, or if you've got more meat and less vegetables, it's kind of different kind of ratios work fine. It could be all meat if you wanted, it could be all vegetables. It works really well. You have to use good quality bread. If you use cheap bread, it just falls to bits. It's just like when cheap bread gets wet, it's just not very nice to eat. You need something with a bit of body and a bit of flavour to it. So something like sourdough is perfect, and if it's stale, even better. What I've done is I fried it in some beef dripping because it's beef that we're using, so beef dripping or lard I would have used. I particularly wouldn't have used oil. I tend to move towards using animal fats these days rather than anything else, and it's not a Mediterranean dish, so olive oil is not applicable. So we're going to cook it in the. I'm going to cook it in the pan in the oven. It can go in the oven because it's got a metal handle. It's just I haven't got an oven-proof dish that's suitable, so I'm going to cook something in the oven in a pan that normally goes on top of the stove, which is just kind of quite a nice tip to kind of know anyway. So in the bottom we've got the first layer of fried bread, and then we're going to put on half the vegetables and half the meat. This is the second video. I made a mess, and I had to do the video again. So I had to pull it all apart and then kind of do over, which is a bit annoying. But so you will notice there are vegetables already in the meat and meat already in the vegetables. So that's down to me making a mess of things. So that there. So half the meat in, half the vegetables. Wash the hands, and then some nice black pepper, and then a layer of more bread, and then the rest of the meat and vegetables. Like that. Move around, press down, get rid of those out of the way. Bit more pepper, like that. Don't need that. So as you can see there, and then we'll put the final layer of bread on. I might need to do a bit more bread, actually. No, I think we'll get away with it. No, that'll be fine with that. It'll expand all the bread. The bread's because I fried it, the bread's dried out a little bit more, so it will soak up more moisture, which is a good thing. So now I have got the wet part of the dish. So it's a litre of water with 3 stock cubes in. It's the manufacturers recommend that it's 1 stock cube per 500 millilitres of water. So what I've done is I've added an extra half stock cube per 500 millilitres. So it's 3 stock cubes, 1 litre of water. Just to make it a little bit stronger, you just have to be a little bit careful with the amount of salt if you're gonna add more stock cubes and things like that. But I haven't got any fresh stock in. I need to make some more, but I haven't got any at the moment, so it's stock cubes it is. And then we just need to pour, oops, I'm making a mess of things, stock on. We're not going to add all the stock, so I'm not entirely sure how much it will soak up, because it's going to soak up. So we'll see, I think. How much is that going to take? There, that'll be fine for the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it to sit. I'm going to press it down. I'm going to leave it to sit for an hour, and then what will happen is the bread will start to soak up the stock, and then we can see if we need to add any more stock. And then once that's done, I'm going to put it in the oven and bake it with I found some cheese in the freezer. I don't know where it's from. I can't remember, but it'll be fine because I'm going to bake it in the oven. I wouldn't eat it in the sandwich, but I'm going to cook it, so that'll be fine. So we'll put a layer of cheese on the top of it, and then bake it in the oven, and it will be like savoury bread and butter pudding, and also there's an Italian Sardinian dish called mazzamoro. So it's kind of along those lines, but no tomatoes, like meat and vegetables and stock rather than tomatoes and bread and cheese. So kind of similar. And what I generally tend to find is it doesn't matter where you go in the world, lots of dishes are very kind of quite similar. It's just people use different ingredients throughout the world and use what they have. So like pasta and noodles are very similar, you know. So and then dim sums and raviolis and Cornish pasties and then you find, you know, anything wrapped in pastry. You know, it's all the same really. It's just people use different ingredients from what they've got around them. So that's fine. So we'll let that soak in, and it'll soak up all the juices, and then might add a bit more stock, and it'll bake it in the oven with some cheese on top, and it'll be lovely. Right, so it's been soaking for about an hour, and it's soaked up all that juice. So we're going to put some more liquid in. I think that's about it. So that is 700 milliliters, and then we'll put the cheese on top, and then it's going to go. I'm going out, so it's going to go in an oven for about 120 for a good hour and a half. Or I would say, if you're doing it for a short amount of time, for an hour, it probably wants to go on about 180 fan. Although I will say, if you're cooking something in a pan like this, what you can do to speed up the process is you can put it over a low heat on the top of the stove. It'll warm it through, because everything's cooked inside. You don't need to kind of cook it anymore. You just need to warm it through and grill the cheese. So you could speed up the process by putting it on top of the stove, putting it on low heat so it doesn't boil too quickly. But then as soon as you can feel the heat, and it's all hot all the way through by sticking a knife in to the center, and then you'll be able to see how hot it is, and then you can put the cheese on top and then put it underneath the grill. So that would be a lot quicker. So that's another option. So but I'm going out, so I'm going to put it in the oven so it's a bit low and slow, and then come back when I've come home, and we'll see what it's like. And it's going to be lovely, because everything that I put into it is nice tasting, so it will be lovely. It won't be for everyone's cup of tea, but it's just one of those nice dishes that uses up things, and it's really great for the winter time. So I'm not going to throw the stock away. It might need a little bit more stock as it cooks, although I won't know because I'm going out. But it might just need a little bit more stock when I come home, just to loosen it slightly. But that's it for now. So into the oven. It's going in for about an hour and a half, an hour and 3/4, and about 120. But I would recommend, if you're just gonna cook it as you want it, 180 fan for about an hour, and that should be fine. That should be enough time to get it warm all the way through and crisp up the cheese. There we go, out in the oven, piping hot, nice crusty cheese on top. It is one of those dishes that lends itself to using up whatever you've got in the fridge. If you've had a big family meal and you've got lots of vegetables left over and a bit of meat, it works really well with that. If you've at the end of the week and you've got a little bit of meat and you've got some leftover vegetables, cooked and raw, you know, perfect for that. Also kind of quite interchangeable with what you use. So I've used beef, but works just as well with lamb or bacon or ham or anything really. Chicken at a push. Certainly leg meat of chicken, or if you've had a roast chicken and there's just meat left on a bit of meat left on the carcass and a leg, perfect for that. Interchangeable vegetables, you know, kind of make it a little bit more Mediterranean by putting in peppers and courgettes and aubergines, or if you like roast vegetables, anything like. It's just one of those dishes that you can put anything you want in, and because of the bread, it kind of bulks things out. Really cheap meal. It doesn't look like much, if I'm honest, but it is extremely tasty, especially if you use good quality bread. I think it's a nice dish. Not everyone's cup of tea. Certainly, I like it. It's very rustic. It's quite peasant food, which I tend to like. But there we go, Merthyr Tydfil Pie.